How about instead of bickering, we figure out our next move against the Speedster and his allies?
Legion of Doom has a sexual ring to it.
I'm not calling them that.
Is it smaller than a Quinjet?
That's classified. And yes, considerably.
It all started when we blew up the time pigs, the time masters. Now history's all screwed up, and it's up to us to unscrew it up. But half the time we screw things up even worse. So don't call us heroes, we're something else. We're legends. Who writes this crap anyway?
Wild Stallions.
You always cut it off right when it gets good.
Sorry. I cut it out. I didn't cut it off.
Well, still, it needs to be longer.
Oh, okay.
We need to get to the.
We need to cut it off because that's when we come in and start talking.
Yeah, we can do that after.
Oh, no.
Nobody's eager to hear us talk.
That's what they're tuning in for, to hear us talk.
Well, that's what the fast forward button's for, you know.
Oh, okay.
Come on.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Fandom Zone 93 for the week ending February 18th, 2017. I'm Karen.
I'm Charles.
And we're here to talk about lots of stuff this week.
Lots of stuff. 5 shows this week.
5. A couple of really great ones.
Yep.
Really super shows. The Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm. The Return to The Walking Dead. The mid-season premiere of Season 7.
Mm-hmm. And Supergirl, 212.
Right.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D, 414. Arrow 513, a little controversy on the podcast.
Arg.
The second episode of Legion. Absolutely no controversy.
Nope. No controversy on Legion.
No. I have a feeling there's not going to be any controversy at all between us on Legion.
Not so far. I can't foresee any unless it just something totally goes off the rails unexpectedly.
Yeah, and I just don't see that.
But you only have 8 episodes in this first
and
season.
again, I don't.
There's no room to go off the rails.
No, not really.
Yeah.
So I showed you my Justice League Darks.
Yes. I was very tempted. No, I got my Justice League Dark. I watched Justice League Dark, by the way. So that was good. I enjoyed it totally.
Yeah.
Thought it could have been better, but does say that a lot about all the DC animated movies. But I was tempted to get the version you have because that has the PVC John Constantine figure.
That's right, mate.
But I was kind of wondering, well, do I want to spend the extra $7 for a PVC figure?
My husband bought it.
Okay.
Don't look at me.
That's okay. I'm saving up for the Constantine action figure.
Yeah.
That's coming out as part of the Arrow TV show series from DC Comics.
I'm sure
that's the one I'm getting.
And I have the one from.
But that's cool that you have that. I was so tempted to get it. It was tempting. I'll give you that.
I have the one from 52 Dark or whatever it is. The jail, whatever the I showed you.
Justice League Dark.
Yeah, Justice League Dark.
Yeah.
I guess that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so I have that, and I have this. I couldn't break.
That's a really cool figure, by the way.
Which one?
The actual action figure from Justice League Dark. Yes,
I love it.
That's a good Constantine figure.
It's behind all my Funkos, though. So
I keep hoping they're going to release a Constantine Funko figure.
A line of them.
Well, they have the Arrow figures.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them. There's only 2 or 3.
So could be part of that.
You have like Oliver Queen, and you have Black Canary and whatnot. But
so why couldn't they put out Vertigo Funko figures?
They
could.
could.
Be part of that.
They could. I'd like to get Sandman figures.
Right.
Wouldn't those be a natural idea? I would think that Sandman Funko figures would be cool. Doom Patrol Funko figures would be awesome. Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol.
I would buy those in a heartbeat.
I would too.
I would order the whole set at once.
Yeah.
If I had to sell something in order to get them, I would. I definitely would. I wouldn't sell my Doom Patrol comics to get them, but I would sell something else.
Or maybe you could do the Trench Coat Brigade from Books of Magic, and that'd be kind of cool.
Doom Patrol, though. Or Sandman.
Doom Patrol, Sandman. Well, Sandman, I think, is a must.
Yeah. They need to do that.
Doom Patrol would be a nice thing to have.
Right.
But I think Sandman's more important.
They really need to do Sandman.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a built-in set.
Yeah.
Right there.
Right.
I mean, there's 7 of them.
Well, you come out with an initial release of the Endless.
Right.
And then you just build upon that.
Right. And then you could get Cain and Abel and
Lucifer.
the Librarian and Lucifer.
Right.
And the Endless Green and, all this stuff.
The Corinthian. How cool would a Corinthian Funko figure be?
Right. Oh. Yeah, there's so many.
I would probably drive that company right into the ground if I managed it, because I'd be like, I want this and I want this. I don't care if it sells. I just want it for me.
Right. Mazikeen, Bass.
Oh, that would be good.
Yeah, all of
Daniel as the Sandman.
That's right.
You could do Hector Hall, Sandman with Lita Hall.
Lita Hall, yeah. In the Dreaming.
Yep.
Sure.
So much potential there.
Oh, we're such nerds. No one knows what we're talking about right now.
You could do Hob.
Sure, Hob.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
Or Rose from the, yeah.
And all her roommates.
Yes. You can yeah.
Right? Fiddler's Green and
Fiddler's, yep.
Pumpkinhead.
Merv Pumpkinhead. How awesome would a Merv Pumpkinhead Funko figure be? He's already got the big head.
Right.
It would look awesome in that. I would love a Merv Pumpkin. Yeah, you said Lucian, I think you said.
I did.
Yeah, you did. So, all right. Enough.
Oh my God.
Enough geeking about that.
I'm not going to do the segue thing because this is the most awesome discussion.
You could do Dr. Destiny, John D.
Oh man. John D. He was the creepiest.
Yeah.
And you got introduced to him right away in the Sandman comics too.
Well, he was Dr. Destiny from Justice League of America.
Right.
But he's much creepier and skeevier in Sandman, obviously. Because it's a horror book. So yeah.
And he had one of his sigils right away in Sandman books. So.
Yep.
Because thought he was the Sandman.
The Delirium figure alone would be cool.
Oh, I want Delirium so bad. She's my favorite.
Yes, I know this.
So everyone should know that, actually.
Yeah, you should. My wife's favorite is Death.
Of course.
But that's everybody's favorite.
A lot of people.
like favorite. Yeah. All
she's
right.
Gitchy.
Yeah. Well, she's just like the ultimate goth chick fantasy.
Yeah.
So.
Delirium is... I think she's a little more fanciful on the end of things.
Well, yes, and it also depends on... Oh, you mean... Yeah.
She's goth, but also fanciful,
She's just quirky she's that quirky punk chick that you know. Yeah.
I identify with that.
She's the outcast. So that makes... Yeah. Who doesn't love a good outcast?
That's right. That is me, 100%.
Except maybe Reverend Anderson. Oh, wait, that's a different outcast.
Wait.
All right.
That show's not back yet.
So, Walking Dead.
Walking Dead 709, Rockin' the Road.
You thought we forgot about you, didn't you, listeners? No such luck.
Oh, no such luck. Rockin' the Road. Who?
Rockin' the Road, written by Angela King, directed by everybody's favorite Walking Dead director, Greg Nicotero.
That's right. And he appeared on...
Talking Dead. Yeah.
Which was very cool to watch afterwards. Okay, so my storylines. Rick Grimes, Big Toe.
Very nice.
Okay.
Now, is that a Stripes reference?
It certainly is.
For Sergeant Hulka.
That's right. Our Big Toe.
I'm your big toe.
Right? And then our B storyline is, what high school do you go to? And that is from the end scene where everyone crowds around them. And I told you there's a theme to these, so I'll give it to you at the end. And the C story is kids are starving in India, and he's walking around with a sombrero full of peanuts. And that's for Gabriel, who took all the food and walked away. Okay, now, these are all from movies, and they're all quotes from one person.
Okay.
So who was the first quote from? Big Toe.
Well, that was Sergeant Hulka.
No, it's a quote from someone, though.
Oh,
Who calls him the Big Toe?
Oh, well, that would be Bill Murray's character.
Correct. What high school do you go to?
That would be Bill Murray as well.
Right, from Groundhog Day. He's walking around.
See, I haven't seen. I'm the only person that has seen Groundhog Day.
He's walking around a party, and he's trying to get information from the people in order to use it against them later on in another day that he repeats.
Got it.
And he asks them what high school they go to.
Okay.
Okay, and then kids are starving in India, and he's walking around with a sombrero full of peanuts. Is from Meatballs.
I haven't watched Meatballs in a long time.
I love that. Are you ready for the summer?
Yeah.
So I picked 3 lines.
I had the soundtrack on vinyl, which shows my age horribly.
So those are all quotes relating to Bill Murray, which I thought was cool because Rick Grimes, Big Toe. I just,
Yeah, exactly.
And they all kind of fit. So
sounds
all
good.
right.
But you can't go wrong with Bill Murray quotes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and what high school did you go to? I'm kind of picking that for the end scene because of Rick's look at the end with the smile. Like he wants to introduce himself to them.
Well, it is kind of a shit-eating grin, isn't it?
It sure is.
Yeah, he's just like
we have more soldiers.
Well, yeah, he's basically doing the Mr. Burns, putting his fingers together, tapping them, going, excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And I'm assuming that's what that grin is about. Hey, more recruits. If these people hate the saviors as much as we do, then let's get them on our side. So, and that's pretty much that whole storyline gone.
See, I would have thrown in, I like this plan. I'm excited by it. Which is also a Bill Murray quote.
There you go.
So.
And what is that from? Is that Quick Change?
I think that's Ghostbusters.
Is it? Okay, Ghostbusters.
I think it's Ghostbusters.
I came across some quotes.
It's either Ghostbusters or Stripes.
Okay. I couldn't use the same movie.
Right. I understand that. But there's a lot to choose from with Bill Murray. You could do Zombieland.
Yeah, see, I had a couple from Zombieland, and I thought, well, they wouldn't be recognizable. These two are kind of recognizable.
They would fit because, hey, Walking Dead and Zombieland. That wouldn't make sense.
I know. I was going to, and then I thought, Okay, so kids are starving in India, and he's walking around with a sombrero full of peanuts. Of course, Gabriel, something happens in the beginning where he has to grab everything from the pantry.
You want to get into that now, or you want to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's get rid of the smaller storylines first.
That's fine.
And he puts it all. He packs it all in the car and drives away. And at the end of the episode, before they're surrounded by all these younger people, this is what they're doing: is they go to look for Gabriel, and because Gabriel left this breadcrumb, his Bible, and it said boat on it. And it's the boots from the last episode. And are we assuming that the guy with the boots showed up and talked to Gabriel, or Gabriel just saw him? What are we assuming?
I think we're assuming that he talked to Gabriel.
Okay.
That's my assumption.
Okay. And Gabriel is, I think...
because something obviously had to trigger this.
Right. I think he's hiding them so that someone won't get that stuff, right?
See, I was under the presumption those boots were like Jesus. for some reason.
Oh no, those are the boat guy's boots.
You think those are the boat guy's boots?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jesus's boots.
Which would make sense why he's out there with the boat.
Right.
Okay.
But he's taking that stuff now and he's hiding it, I'm thinking. So that...
See, I thought he was just hiding it so that Negan's goons couldn't get it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He's hiding it so Negan's goons won't get it. But
I'm hoping, and I'm hoping it's not just Father Gabriel being Father Gabriel and doing something.
Yeah, no, I don't think he is. But I do think it's the guy from the boat.
Okay.
With the boots. I think they might have something to do with each other, but I don't think that...
Unless he was like the guy with the boots, like put a gun to Gabriel's head.
It didn't look like it, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked like he was... Because he said...
It wasn't suspicious.
Right. He said, it's all here. Right. When he looked at the list and all that. So, again, they said we'll find out in the next episode what's going on with that. And I did like that Rick really is not threatened by these people at the end, and he just wants to recruit them right away.
Well, that's true, because he's completely surrounded.
Yeah.
And it looks pretty intimidating. They're like,
right.
And then he's just like, yeah, I could work with this.
Yeah, well, he's back to Rick, Sheriff Rick.
Yeah, well, that's what we want him.
Right.
Because we're tired of the other.
And, okay, so we'll get into the Sheriff Rick thing.
Right. The Ricktatorship is back, baby.
Right. And it's a good thing. He's gone now to the hilltop. He's leaving the hilltop at the beginning. Yeah. And Gregory has said he's not all in at all.
Gregory.
We are seeing the end times for Gregory.
It's basically, yes. Gregory is on borrowed time at this moment because it's only a matter of time before someone kills him.
Yes.
And right now, the big money is on Daryl, I think.
Daryl or Maggie?
Daryl, Maggie. Well, Maggie would take over.
Right. Oh, definitely.
But
I mean, if Maggie has to kill him, I think
Daryl has like 0 S's to give right now.
Oh yeah. 0 F's.
0 F's to give, I should say. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, and he's there, of course, which is the best thing ever that they left him there. Mm-hmm. No, they left him at Ezekiel at the kingdom.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
He's at the kingdom.
Right. Okay. So Gregory.
Because Gregory wouldn't want him there. Gregory's just like, okay, you guys can just leave, and he keeps calling him like, okay, Ricky instead of Rick, and yeah.
He has no idea
what he's dealing with.
He is doing.
No.
He has been there for so long, entrenched in this now. What has it been? A couple years, maybe, since the outbreak? Do you think?
Yeah, I totally get the impression that before the zombie apocalypse, Gregory was probably like the manager at some electronics store.
The middle management.
The middle management, like the guy that, thinks he knows everything and loves bossing kids around.
Or a district manager.
Yeah, some completely useless bureaucrat in the food chain. And now he's got a little taste of power, and he's like, okay, I'm the man in charge now. Right. You got to listen to me.
He's swinging stuff all around.
Right.
However, I don't think he understands that doesn't mean you can do that for everyone. You have to work with people sometimes. And he's not getting it. He's really not. And he wants to just keep working with Negan, and it's not the smartest plan in the world. First of all...
You're betting on the wrong horse, baby.
Right. He's on the wrong side of history. I keep saying that. But again, it's very true right now, is Gregory is just... He's betting on the wrong horse.
In borrowed time.
But not only when it comes to Rick, but when it comes to Maggie... He is doubling down wrongly.
Well, especially now, because Maggie is so focused right now. She's like, okay, we got to get everybody together. We got to take Negan out.
Right.
I want revenge for Glenn.
Right. And I find it very telling that as soon as they walk out, There's already people there outside Gregory's place ready to go.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so...
Well, remember, Jesus has completely lost faith with Gregory.
Right.
So
he's
I'm sure he's talked to everybody else is like, hey, Gregory's an a-hole. Why are we listening to this?
Right. Right.
We saw how he basically kowtowed to Negan's crew, and kissed his toe or whatever, and
right.
yeah.
Yeah. That was gross, that guy.
Yeah.
And we saw that guy again this episode. Which
Yes, we did. Yeah, Mr. Mustache.
Ugh. Ugh.
Yeah, he's with that big ass grin.
Oh, I hate that guy.
That smirky grin.
I can't wait for that guy to die.
We should just call him Mr. Punchable Face.
Punchable? Can we just call him?
Yeah,
Punch.
Yeah.
We'll just call him Punch. Okay, so
Punchy.
So they leave that place, and Rick knows now that they have recruits at Hilltop, and he's assuming that pretty much Gregory's the only one that won't be on his side, right?
Well, the first thing, if you're gonna pull something, you can't let Gregory know about it,
right?
Because he's just gonna rat you out.
Of course, but he knows that also Gregory is like the paper.
Yeah.
The paper.
Tiger.
What do they call it? No, when someone is in charge, the paper...
Pusher? I'll take unfinished thoughts for 100, Alex.
Paper tyrant? Is that what they're called? The paper...
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
It's something else, but...
I get where you're coming from. I get what you're talking about.
It's, it's like a guy in charge, but it's just a facade. But anyway...
Yeah.
He's literally just, the guy who's sitting on the throne there until Maggie usurps him.
I would just say a figurehead.
Oh, okay, he's a figurehead. But he's even worse than that because no one even thinks of him as the guy in charge. So it's literally, it's just kind of please, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe Negan's guys think he's still in charge.
Well, I think
they're not there every day.
Well, I think they want him to be in charge because they know they can control him.
Of course.
He's willing. I mean, if he's willing to kiss somebody's shoes, yeah,
right. And everyone else there, Maggie included, are okay with that thought as well.
Well, yeah, because you don't want to tip your hand to Negan too early.
Exactly right.
So it's just, Gregory, you're in charge. Okay, we'll just leave now.
Right.
We'll do whatever you say. Wink, wink.
Right. So Hilltop's in.
Yes.
And Rick's good with that. He feels secure. He leaves.
So moving on.
Right. There's a little bit of dialogue between, who is it, Sasha and the two Abraham chicks.
Oh, yeah. Rosita and, no, it was Sasha and Rosita.
Right.
Because Sasha tries to reach out to Rosita because she can see that she's hurting.
Right.
And then Rosita snaps back with, listen, Miss Thing,
right.
Just because you and I slept with the same guy doesn't mean we're friends.
Right.
Shoots her down cold.
Like, wow. Yeah, Sasha wasn't ready for that.
It was a big awkward moment.
Yeah, it was.
Awkward.
And I found that interesting. That, they had been getting along pretty well, actually, and had kind of bonded over it, I thought.
I thought so, too, but I think Rosita, she's got this rage now because she wanted to take him out for Abraham. Remember, she treated Eugene like crap to make that bullet, and here she has the Price is Right film music when she tries to use it on Negan.
Right.
And then she ends
only hurt Lucille.
Right, and then she only just dings Lucille in the process.
Right.
Then she gets a little scar on her face as her reward, basically.
Right, and she ends up getting Olivia killed.
True.
So yeah, she's she's got a lot of self-hurt right now as well.
And she's looking for that target. But she's also, I think, mad at herself, and she's taking out on everybody else.
So she's lashing out.
Yeah.
Okay, so they leave Hilltop.
And it's going to get her killed, probably.
Probably. They leave Hilltop, and Jesus says, okay, it's time to meet King Ezekiel.
Yeah, King Zeke.
Yeah. And on the way to meet King Ezekiel, we see Richard.
Yeah, Richard's one of Ezekiel's paladins.
Yep.
For those of you D&D buffs.
Yeah, pretty much. And he's the one that stood up to Negan's guy and ended up getting beaten up pretty bad outside.
Which is kind of important because he's pretty much like, yeah, let's go get Negan.
He wants to rise up. Exactly right. And
he's buying what Rick is selling.
He is. As they're on the road, they get stopped, and Richard goes, Jesus, is that you? And he does. He pretty much says that, doesn't he?
Yes, it is me, my son. Hello. Right. It is I, Jesus.
And he says, yeah, they're my friends, and I'm taking them to meet Ezekiel. And they say, well, you'll forgive us if we don't like bringing in a big
bunch of strangers,
mob of people in to see King Ezekiel all at once. So, give us your weapons and all that. And I find it amusing that they take their guns, but they let Michonne in with her big katana sword.
Well, they're probably like, I'm not going near that.
Yeah,
because I'm sure Michonne probably gave her the Wolverine stare. It's like, you ain't coming near this thing.
Yeah, I found it amusing that
it was.
They take guns, but they leave her with that.
You want to take it from her? I'm not going to take it from her.
No, I'm not going to take it from her. You can take it from her.
Yeah,
nope.
Yeah, nope.
Nope.
Don't want any part of that.
No. So they go in, and Jesus has forgotten to tell them that Ezekiel has a tiger.
Yep.
And
that initial reaction is priceless because everybody walks in.
They're all standing back at the door like,
yeah,
dude, what's with the tiger?
Exactly.
And Jesus is like, oh, I forgot to tell you, he's got a tiger.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Come on in.
It's cool.
Right. And they do notice that Morgan's in there.
Right. So this gives Rick and Morgan the chance to catch up really quickly.
Right. Although Morgan admits to one thing and lies about another thing, which I found interesting. He tells him that he has killed, since the last time he saw him, that he killed the saviors that had hurt Carol. But then he lies when he says Carol was there and they helped to patch her up, but then she left again.
And she hasn't.
Well, she has.
But she's kind of on the fringes of the community.
Right. He knows where she is.
Exactly. They can find her. Yes.
Right.
But Morgan doesn't want Rick and everybody else near her
to go and hound her. Right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a lie by omission.
Yeah.
I mean, he says she left, which is true, but it's kind of a lie.
And then Rosita tells Morgan about everybody that died.
And Morgan
that Negan killed with Lucille.
Right.
And Morgan's reaction is like, well, I'm sorry that happened, everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, you can tell he's shaken. It
does upset him, but his reaction is not like, oh, we got to get Negan. It's more like, well, that's a terrible thing.
Well, he's in shock, I think, from it a little bit.
Yeah. Mostly
because he wasn't there, and they explain it. They beat them to death. He beat them to death.
Right.
And then who is it? Rosita says it.
Yeah.
And they took Eugene.
Right.
And
we don't know what happened to him.
No, Rosita says it.
Well, I know that, but my point is, she tells Morgan that they don't know what happened to Eugene.
Right. Yeah. And Morgan is just kind of standing there, kind of in shock. It looks like he's in shock over the whole thing. And once Rick lays out his plan that they have Hilltop and they have their guys, and he knows that they're also under some. And mind you, Ezekiel's not pleased that Jesus has shared the details of their deal with Negan, although he kind of gets over it once he realizes that everyone has this deal with Negan, so it's not really a secret. But he's been keeping it a secret from his people.
Yes.
So he realizes that Rick and his people aren't going to share it.
Right.
They're not going to blab it or anything. He's okay. But he says, we know you have this deal with Negan. We do too. Hilltop does too. We want to end this. So we want to get all our forces together. It'll be enough. We'll be able to take them down. And they put this to him, and he talks it over with him. They talk about it right then and there a little bit. And then he turns to Morgan, which I find not out of character, and then also a little out of character at the same time.
Well, I think it's just he wanted a different viewpoint.
Right.
And he knows that Morgan's going to have that different, because Morgan's all, I'm Mr. Pacifist.
Right.
So he's like, okay, what's the pacifist stance on this?
Right. He values his opinion, but he also knows that Morgan is their friend.
Yeah.
And has a stake in this. So I'm wondering how realistic he thinks this opinion's going to be.
I think Morgan's a little thrown by this too, because he's kind of fumbling for a response.
He is.
And he's like, well, maybe we could just capture Negan. Maybe that would work.
And I think Ezekiel realizes the minute that he answers him that he's going to kind of be on his own for this. And then Rick gives him that rock in the road story.
We get this really long parable.
Yeah.
And you kind of wonder.
It was an interesting story,
It was an interesting story, but it was going on and on. I'm kind of like, okay, is this going to get to a point anytime soon?
Right.
It was a little too long.
It does. It got to a point.
And then the whole point is just basically, okay, we need to have a moral call to arms.
Right. Right. There's a rock in the road. If you were the one that dug it up, then you were the one that got the reward. Right. Essentially, was the whole thing. Yeah. And so the moral of his story was, we got to be the one to dig up this rock in the road before
it becomes a problem.
Before it continues to kill everybody. And the rock in the road, of course, would be Negan. And so
Ezekiel's like, I shall deliver my decree in the morn.
Exactly. And, they don't want to stay, but they also want an answer. Right. So they decide they're going to stay, and they're looking around. They get a tour of the whole place and all this. One thing I noticed that they said in The Talking Dead, and I thought this was very cool. I just want to interject this here, is that they do grow stuff there on that farm, and that what they don't use out of that, all the vegetables and fruit and all that, goes to shelters in the area. That was a blurb on The Talking Dead. So it goes to food banks and shelters and stuff. So I thought that was good.
The food banks of the apocalypse.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm serious. I mean, in real life, that food goes to homeless shelters and food banks and stuff. Stop it. I thought that was nice.
No, it's cute. It's cute. It's kind of, it's just kind of surprised that it's actually real food.
It is real food.
Yep.
They grow things there.
So that's cool.
Okay. So they wake up in the morning, and Ezekiel hands down his decree that he doesn't think he wants to help them.
Right.
However, Gregory does.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some dissonance there. And Gregory stops and says, look, let me see what I can do. And
you mean Richard?
I'm sorry. Yes, Richard. I mean Richard. 100% Richard.
Okay, I was just like, Gregory, where are we going with? Wait,
no,
what?
Richard. Yeah, Richard says yes, he wants to.
Yes.
And so he tells Rick and and his band of merry men and women. I'm going to see what I can do. I know what you're aiming for. We can't keep this up because it's going to escalate, and we have to do something. So I'm going to try and talk to him, and just please let's do this. So he thinks he has them as well, which is good. So that's the thing on the Rick Grimes sheriff front. Now, the other part of this episode, and it was the coolest thing ever.
Well, you're talking about the clothesline, I'm guessing?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
We have to talk about
this roadblock.
Right.
And it was the same freeway where they went looking for Sophia, by the way.
Yeah. Well, it's where they shot it.
Right.
It's not the exact same.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where they shot.
But at the same location.
Right.
That they filmed this, yes.
Right. There was a bunch of cars that were all hooked up to dynamite and gasoline and all. It was a booby trap, essentially, for them. And a blockade.
It keeps, big groups from using that freeway as a way to travel.
Right. And so they decide they're going to clear a path.
Right.
And so they end up, disarming everything. Mm-hmm. And Rosita's the one who tells them how to disarm everything. She gets the battery out of the C4 bomb in the middle. She helps them, to look at all the dynamite and all that. I think it's funny. She says, "I don't like the look of that one." Yeah. And she sets it down in the center, which comes back at the end.
Well, yeah, because you figure, okay, somebody's going to pick that up.
Right. Yeah. Nobody picked it up, though.
I thought for sure somebody's going to be like, give Rick that bag thing of dynamite. It's going to go off, and that's how he's going to lose his hand. That would have been awesome.
I know it would have been, but that's not how it worked.
Nope.
And then they set it down in the middle of the road there, that one little thing of dynamite. And then there's two cars, and it has this metal wire.
Right. Yeah, basically they run a wire all the way across the divider.
Yeah.
To both cars. So Michonne's in one car, Rick's in the other car.
Right. And
it's like a tag team demolition derby.
Yes.
And then they have the
walkers.
Yes.
Right?
So this herd of walkers is coming.
Horns.
Attract the walkers.
Right.
And then they gun the engines, and then ramming speed.
And they cut all the zombies in half.
Yep. It's like they clear cut an entire herd of zombies in this one.
It was the coolest special effect they have ever had on this show.
It's definitely one of the top 10. Easy.
It was amazing.
It was a very cool sequence. So at least we got a big payoff in this episode.
Right. And then they get to the point where the walkers are overwhelming.
Right.
They're off of the center of the road, so they can't catch them all in between the cars. They stop the cars. They get out. They get in the SUV, and they pull away. And that one little piece of dynamite that wasn't stable, it goes up.
Right.
And she's like, "I knew I didn't like the look of that one."
He blowed up real good.
That's right.
He blowed up real good.
That right there.
That's it.
Yeah, and that whole sequence was great. And now they have RPGs, which were there as well. They have a bunch of dynamite. They have some C4. They have batteries. And they have tubs of gasoline in the back of their SUV. So they have all kinds of armaments. And I'm guessing they're planning on blowing up the Savior's base.
Oh, you think?
I think so.
We'll find out.
So am I missing anything?
No, because you basically, the Savior showed up at Alexandria looking for Daryl, but he wasn't there.
Right.
And they they trashed the place again.
Yeah.
Because they're dicks.
Right. They are. Oh, I hate that guy so hard.
Mr. Punchable.
Yes, I hate him. I hope he's the first one that dies.
No, those guys like that last forever.
I want Daryl to kill that guy.
Yeah.
Who's going to kill that guy?
That's a good question. Maybe Dwight when he flips sides. Oh, spoilers.
Dwight? Yeah. Dwight or Rick?
We'll find out.
Okay.
Because, yeah, we still got to wait.
Yeah, spoiler alert, guy.
Dwight's got to flip sides here, so.
Dwight's going to flip sides.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So what did you give this episode?
This is a very good, strong mid-season opener.
Mm-hmm.
I gave it 8.5 out of 10 decapitated zombies because, hell yeah.
Yeah, right? Detorcitated. Because they were like cutting their torso.
Well, I just thought it was good.
Yeah.
But basically, yeah, just like they're all like daisies with their heads popped off.
They were so awesome. And I gave it 9 unnecessary convoys because when that dude, when Punch came in to Alexandria, they came in with like 10 trucks. And it's like all a power play, a show of power.
Well, that's what it is, to keep people in line.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was my unnecessary.
Totally agree. All right. Well, that's awesome.
On to Supergirl.
Supergirl.
212 Luthors.
Mr. Luthor.
Mr. Luthor.
Mr. Luthor.
And I have a couple song titles here, and then a line from the show with a little bit extra.
Well, first, let me just say this is written by Robert Rovner and Cindy Leichtman, directed by Tanya McKiernan.
Okay. So, I said it Lichtman, but I don't know which way it is.
It might be Lichtman.
Okay.
So.
So I have the A story is you got to have faith.
You got to have faith. Ah.
I knew you would do that. My B story is total eclipse of the heart.
Yeah. A total eclipse of the heart.
Thank you. And then the C story is from a line that Mon-El said, the more the merrier, or not.
Or not. I can't really sing that one, so.
There's no song for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you gotta have faith. This is all about Kara having faith in her friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Lena Luthor.
Exactly. And not many other people had faith in her.
No, everybody's just like, okay, Lena's got to be guilty. Because basically we get into Lillian Luthor's trial.
Mm-hmm.
And the question comes up about whether Lena was involved with this, how much she was involved with this. Kara is the only person that takes Lena's side on this one.
Right.
Everybody else is just like, she's a Luthor. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree, apparently. Look at Lex. Look at Lillian. She's no good. She's no good. She's no good. Baby, she's no good.
I've had some conversations since this episode aired with some people.
Right.
And we've been going back and forth on how petty James has been about this.
Yeah.
And Kara over this whole thing. First of all, Kara's been pretty petty about the whole Guardian thing.
She's been really, really petty, really.
Yeah. Now, James has also been giving it back to her.
Right.
Right?
That's fair.
And now everyone is against her about Lena. But the way he talked to her in this episode about Lena, I thought was pretty petty. And then people came back to me and said, okay, but you got to remember, he went through a bunch of stuff with Lex and Superman.
Right. That's true. They do have history.
So he has a history.
So
and
he is very anti-Luthor. There's some sentiment there, yes.
Right. Fair point.
Yep. It is a fair point.
It is. However, he still talked to Kara in a petty way.
Well, remember, he still feels kind of burned because she is going around hero-splaining to him, saying, well, you can't be a hero because I'm a hero for all of a season, and I know more than you, and you're just going to get yourself killed.
I have to say, he shouldn't be going in places where she should be the only one going.
He should be smarter.
Right. You have to admit, he really shouldn't be going up against, like, a white Martian.
So here's the question, then. Does James have a death wish?
Well, I think James doesn't really think about what he's doing.
Or he just doesn't care.
He wants to prove to everyone that he can do the same things that Superman and Supergirl can do, but he can't.
Right.
And he needs to tamp that down. And I think in one sense, Kara is completely right about that. But the way she's going about it is not going to get the job done.
So you have to wonder if this whole thing about James becoming the Guardian, would all that go away if somebody just fixed his damn father's camera?
Yeah.
Because remember, this all got triggered because his father's camera, which meant so much to him,
got broken.
It was broken.
Mm-hmm.
So fix the camera, get over whatever's bugging you.
I know. Well, apparently he had this resentment for a long time, though.
Apparently. It needed an outlet.
He couldn't be a sidekick anymore.
Yeah.
So now he made Wynn his sidekick.
Yeah.
Who is the son of a supervillain.
Which is a great move. It's like, I don't want to be the sidekick anymore, so I'm going to get my own sidekick. And therefore,
you don't make the son of a supervillain your sidekick, dude.
Well, if you're desperate.
Still learn from your friend.
Yeah. If you've ever read any comic books, you know that eventually that's a very bad idea.
Right. You should never do that.
Eventually it's going to bite you.
He's a good guy. I'll give it to him right now. Wynn is a very good guy.
For now.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
I don't foresee any problem with Wynn. I really don't. I'm not saying anything about Wynn, but I'm just saying it's not the smartest move.
No.
And
it's begging for trouble.
I just saw in this episode they were being little kids to each other.
It is very high school. What's going on here? But again, the CW.
Right. There's lots of angst between them, and they're not even friends, which bothers me. I would like for them to go back to being friends.
Well, I think at the end of this episode, Kara makes an outreach to James.
Right. Yeah, a little bit. Still,
but I don't think it's completely worked itself out yet.
No, not even close.
I think there was a gesture there, which there needed to be.
Right. But I still think that he needs to wisen up and realize that he cannot be Superman.
Right.
But he's sitting there on the table. He's getting patched up from going up against someone that he shouldn't have gone against, and he's like, "I really like my shield." I mean, come on, really, really,
yeah. Really,
you dummy,
you big dummy.
You better like your shield because it's the only thing stopping something from killing you.
Yeah.
And you know what? You're lucky you know Supergirl because, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
you might want to stay on good terms with her.
Right.
Yeah.
Because she saved your butt.
Yeah. You're a little out of your league.
A lot out of his league, to be fair.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so they go up against Metallo because Metallo
fighting out of your weight class.
Way out. Metallo is the one that saves Lillian.
Right.
And they also have this video that shows Lena stealing the stuff from the lab.
So, of course, everybody's like, aha, Lena Luthor, evil.
In on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which she probably still is, but... Yeah.
Well, who knows?
Yeah.
So, they put Lena in jail, and now Metallo and Lillian are out.
Mm-hmm.
And then Metallo goes to break Lena out, which makes Lena look even more guilty.
Right.
Right. So the Guardian shows up to fight Metallo.
Which is, again, way out of his weight class.
So dumb.
But then, Metallo ends up becoming unstable.
Right. And Supergirl goes to fight him. Jimmy, for some reason, can track that kryptonite from across town.
It's got a signature. You mean, Wynn.
I mean, Wynn.
Yeah.
Yes. And Wynn and Alex are tracking it from across town. Well, I can hand wave that. That's fine. It's radiation. So they track it. She manages to fight, and all she had to do is take Mon-El with her.
Yeah, because
He doesn't have a problem with kryptonite.
Right.
Are we not revealing that yet?
Well, he's a Daxamite. He shouldn't have a problem with kryptonite.
They've kind of alluded to it with the lead thing, right?
Yeah.
That he was sick in the lead-lined cell.
Yeah, they should.
Yeah, he should fight Metallo.
Yeah. He would be much better at it. Because he doesn't have that vulnerability.
Right.
But it is Supergirl's show, so she really should fight the villain.
Yeah. It would have been a nice time for a reveal on that, right?
There could have been. I don't think it was necessary, but I think there could have been.
Yeah. Okay, so she fights him, and his heart explodes. Total eclipse of the heart.
Yep.
Is my...
He blowed up real good.
There, yeah. And at the last moment, who shows up? John Jones to save the day. Instead of going with her,
right?
He shows up at the last moment to
Deus Ex John Jones.
Jones, yes, and he scoops up
Deus Ex Jones Kina.
Right. He scoops up everyone and escapes.
Yep.
And of course, Lillian escapes as well.
Right.
Out the other side. And
there's basically they try to outrace this cloud of kryptonite dust resulting from Metallo going blowed up real good. Yeah.
Right. Lillian escapes with her henchman. And
I'll be back. Yeah.
Right. And they try and trace her, but they don't know where she went. Mm-hmm. Lena's home. That's all. Okay. And then Lena's back home. And at the end of the episode, we can discuss anything else in a minute.
Yeah.
At the end of the episode, they show her with a chessboard, and she is holding a white knight.
Right.
And then she flashes back to a time where she's playing chess with her mother.
Well, this is earlier, at the very beginning of the episode. We get a flashback of Lena being brought in as the story is like this girl was adopted by Lionel Luthor, Lex's father. But it turns out, guess what? She was this fling he had with some other chick.
Right. She really is Lionel's.
So really, Lex and Lena Luthor are half siblings.
Right.
Because Lionel's both of their fathers, but Lex is only Lillian's son.
Right.
Right?
Right. Exactly right.
So Lena is not Lillian's.
Right.
So there may be some resentment there.
Thus,
yes,
the issue between them.
But
right.
But I think Lillian respects Lena because Lena is apparently very intelligent. And at the end of the episode, we see her checkmating Lex Luthor. And so Lillian's kind of like, girl's got some skills. Maybe you are Luthor after all.
Right. But then in the present day, she's holding a white knight.
Right.
So we'll have to see what that means.
It just means that she's playing her own game. And there's more going on here.
Also, it could mean that that's representing something too.
What, that she's she's the good side because she's the white side,
or just a white knight.
Yeah.
Is she going to save someone, or?
See, I don't think so. I think it's just she's playing her own game.
Okay. We'll find out.
We'll find out.
I have no idea.
We'll find out too.
I just thought it was interesting that they picked the white knight. Emily and I talked about that.
Or it's just something to keep you guessing.
Could be. Okay, so is there anything else we need to talk about?
Yeah.
More the merrier or not.
Yeah, a certain Mr. Mixius Pellick.
Oh, wait until we talk about Mon-El.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, Mon-El and she had a chat last episode.
Right.
And she said, no, we're just friends because they've been going back and forth on this. So Mike showed up at work and decided he was going to take Eve out.
Right.
Because Eve is really the only other girl he knows.
Are we feeling bad for Eve yet? Because
a little bit.
Eve is only pawn in Game of Life.
Yeah. Although he really doesn't know very many people. All the people he knew at the bar are dead. So
Yeah, but
it's pretty much
you would think he would be able to meet some more people at the bar, being the bartender.
you would think.
You would think
But
he would have some girls trying to pick him up at the bar.
if you remember, they had a connection before, he and Eve.
Right.
Kind of made it in the copy room.
That's true. Yeah. And somehow did not split her completely wide open.
Oh, okay. Still.
Yeah.
I don't think they got that far.
Let's hope not, for her sake.
Yeah. So they decide they're going to go out on a date. She finds out later on that it didn't go well because Eve says to Kara that he just kept talking about Supergirl.
So apparently Mon-El is a really horrible date.
Yeah. Although probably not.
Does it help kill some of your cougar fantasy?
Nope.
Nope. You're still in on the cougar fantasy.
I'm all in.
Okay.
Especially when she goes to see him and he's got that scruff on his face and he's
the scruff.
Yeah, I like the scruff.
Yeah.
So she confronts him about it, and now we're leading into Ms.
Mr. Mxyzptlk.
Okay.
That word.
Mixie.
Why don't you just let me pronounce it?
I'll let you pronounce it. Okay, so where is she? She call him over?
Well, basically what happens is, Mon-El shows up to talk to Kara, who's like, admits that being a superhero and her refusal to become vulnerable was the reason she didn't want to start a relationship. We talked about that. Okay.
Right.
But, she's ready to start.
Right.
And just when they're about to kiss.
The kiss.
Yep. But then.
No, it was like a Bewitched thing.
Yep.
Like Bewitched in the beginning of Bewitched. She comes in on the
broom.
The broom, yeah.
All swoopy and, yeah.
Who comes in?
Ba-ba. That would be Mr. Mxyzptlk.
Right.
Who shows up to suddenly declare his love for Kara and asked her to marry him.
Right. And she's like, what?
What? Yeah. So, and then next week's episode, technically tomorrow's episode, as we're recording this on Sunday, will be Mr. Mxyzptlk trying to court our own Kara Danvers.
Right.
We'll see how that goes.
It's not going to go well for him.
If you've ever read a Superman comic with Mr. Mxyzptlk in it, you know it never goes well.
Right.
And usually awkward for just about everybody for some reason.
Very awkward.
Yeah.
So what did you give this episode?
Damn you, fifth dimensional imps. I enjoyed this one. I like this one. I like the little flashback backstory we got with Lena. I thought that was good, and I think Lillian's a really good villain, so I like her a lot. 8.5 chessboards, because I thought this was really cool. I liked it.
I give it 8. I liked it too. I give it 8 doctored videos.
Yeah, because as of course that video of Lena turns out to be, guess what? It wasn't her after all. And Kara is just doing her little happy dance going, see, told you so, told you so.
Vindicated, I'm vindicated. Yeah. And I recommended this week that people read Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow.
Right.
Because who's the villain in that?
Ultimately, Mr. Mxyzptlk.
That's right.
Yep.
Because I really like that story.
There are other, Mr. Mxyzptlk. There's actually some Supergirl stories where she's gone off, confronted Mr. Mxyzptlk. You could probably track down too.
Yeah, but that one's great.
It is a good one. I totally agree. That goes without saying.
Yeah.
That's a great story.
Give people a good one. And I like to pick one-shots for people to read. So, all right.
You might also want to check out Superman Volume 2, number 11 by John Byrne, which introduced Mr. Mxyzptlk in the post-crisis era.
Okay.
Worth a shot.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's my recommendation.
Excellent.
You recommended one. I recommended one.
I like it. What's the story title? Do you know?
I can't remember offhand.
Okay.
But it's Superman number 11, Volume 2. So.
Awesome.
Of the 1987 volume.
Just Superman.
Yes, just Superman. Yeah.
All right, cool.
All right, and moving on, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. 414, The Man Behind the Shield.
Yeah, written by Matt Owens, directed by Wendy Stanzler.
Awesome.
What's our A, B, and C, Karen?
I, Ada.
I see what you did there.
Like iRobot, of course.
Yep.
Russian to a flashback.
I like that title.
Thank you.
I love puns, so I love that one.
Thank you. And Red Zoned.
Red Zoned.
Like red shirt, but
yeah. Or Red Zone in football. But
same.
Yeah.
We're talking about the same storyline, so yeah.
Yep. Okay, so Ada.
Well, that's the major storyline. Let's wait for a minute.
All right, or you want to do the all right.
Yeah.
We should always maybe we should do the little stories as A, B, and C as A.
No, because the A story is always the big story.
Well, okay. All right. It's your thing, so that's cool.
I know.
It just always seems weird we jump to the C story before the A story.
Well, I like to get the little ones out of the way first.
That's fair.
A story is always the big storyline.
That's fair.
Okay. Let's talk about Russian to a flashback because that was really interesting this week.
Yeah. So
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't have a formula, which I dig a lot. But they had a flashback this episode.
Yeah, we had this was actually, and I like once again, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s flashbacks greater than Arrow flashbacks.
I have to admit, yes, that's
so put
true.
that greater sign right before, pointing toward Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So yeah, we get this flashback to years ago. Agent Coulson, who's only like level 4 or what have you, and Agent Melinda May, so Melinda May with the big hair and the bangs.
Right.
And Coulson rocking the old school sunglasses and suit, as we know from the Marvel movies.
That's right.
Which is awesome.
Before Avengers, it's a pre-Avengers thing, right?
Exactly, yes. So he's pre-Avengers, the Avengers Initiative.
Right.
So there you go to this Russian outpost looking to recover this unknown object. And they end up taking out an SVR team, which is like the modern version of the KGB.
Right.
And that included Ivanov, who is, of course, the superior in the modern-day storyline.
Mm-hmm.
But Coulson and May end up developing some feelings for one another. They kind of flirt a bit.
A little bit.
And,
although they didn't do too well on an assignment where they were supposed to.
Right. It kind of goes a little screwy.
Right.
And May's kind of riding him pretty hard, Coulson, through that whole episode. Because he basically... They haven't gotten their groove. Coulson's not nearly as doesn't have his act together like he does today.
Right. Although I have to say he's still Coulson because he gets taken by these guys, and they say, "Do you have a partner?" And he says, "What? What do you have a partner?" Oh, well. I wouldn't call her a partner, really. She's more like a flirtation. I don't know, so he's going into this really sarcastic reply about it. And the guy says, "You Americans, you talk too much." Yeah, some say it's a flaw. So he's got his Coulson thing down.
This is definitely could Captain America sign my Captain America trading cards, Coulson?
It is, definitely.
Right. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
It's the Avengers Coulson. Yep. And I really dig this look back at him, and it just really shows Clark Gregg's
range,
acting ability, that he can just dial it completely back to this character, because he's grown so much in that time, but he can still retrofit back to that time.
Well, I think he's just playing him much more naively,
right?
Unoptimistically. I totally agree. Yeah, because obviously this is the Coulson of today is after he was dead, and after he had his arm chopped off,
and after he's seen so many of his colleagues die, and
so he's a little more darker and more jaded,
and after
being director of S.H.I.E.L.D. and so
right. And I mean, after the incident, a lot of things have happened. I mean, the incident has to change you,
I would think,
as well. And the Accord, and watching all of your friends fight each other, essentially, watching that division between the people that you know. I mean, that has to really bother you. And Lash, Andrew,
Right.
who they haven't even met yet, really. I
Well,
mean,
we get a shout out to apparently it sounds like we get toward the end of the episode. We kind of get this flashback again at the end of the episode where Coulson's thanking May for saving him, and May lets it slip that she asked for this mission.
Mm-hmm.
And then she says that, hey, if the current guy I'm seeing doesn't work out, maybe we'll talk about us.
Right.
And then Coulson's like, okay, so who's this guy? And she's like, well, I'm seeing this shrink. So,
right.
Of course, everybody's like, oh, you're talking about Andrew.
Right.
So, obviously, it doesn't work out for Coulson and May.
Right, because she marries Andrew.
She ends up marrying Andrew, who ends up becoming Lash and dying. So, there's still that kind of unresolved feelings there that haven't been addressed yet.
Exactly. So what we saw is them bantering.
Right.
And I guess what they're doing is they're saying, hey, look, they bantered before all this.
Right.
So this isn't just coming out of the blue.
And I don't think because May moved on with Andrew, but Coulson really didn't move on with anybody.
No.
So he's probably still been holding this torch.
Sure. A little tiny.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean,
he went out with people, but
he's been affected by. I mean, he's been busy with his work, but it's probably still like, hey, we didn't get to work this out.
Right.
We didn't get to see where this could go.
He'd like to see where it would go, I'm sure.
Right.
Plus, he has a very strong connection with her, not just romantically, but otherwise as well.
Right.
I mean, they're intellectually compatible and everything else. So
there's chemistry there. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of unresolved stuff going on. And I loved that flashback, seeing them younger with that more innocent outlook on life and that. And it, of course, sets up the fact that mission was just nothing special to him.
No, but apparently it was to Ivanov because that was such a big failure for the SVR. All the other agents, except for Ivanov, were tortured and killed.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently Ivanov it's been bothering him a little bit.
Right. And this is why he has this whole murder board set up.
Yeah, apparently he's gone totally conspiracy theory. He's gone full Breitbart.
Right.
Right? He's gone full Breitbart. He's got this board. Everything's all tied with the threads right to Coulson.
Right. And he doesn't get how Coulson could die and come back. And, everything revolves around him.
Yep.
And Coulson does the best thing ever where he says, dude, you were just another job. I have no idea who you are.
Yep.
You were just some red shirt that I was paid to go and do a job about. I don't know who you are.
Right.
And then it just tears Ivanov down completely.
Right, because Ivanov's been obsessing about Coulson, but Coulson's like, I never give you like the time of day. I don't know.
Frog.
Yeah. And you are.
Right. Exactly. Right. Do you remember me? I met you 2 years. What? No, you don't even look familiar. Yeah, Coulson just...
What do you mean I don't look familiar?
He seriously rips him a new one. And I really enjoyed that part of the episode where Coulson just really demoralizes him completely. And that was good.
Yeah.
However... it doesn't end up so good for him in the end, does it? Because Ada has her own plans. We'll get into that in a second. Ada is there with Ivanov and Radcliffe. And I like one of the girls at Nice Girls that I do the roundtable with keeps writing it Ratcliffe.
Because he's such a rat. Yeah.
I'm guessing that's why I correct it when I write up the article.
Maybe you should just leave it in.
But she just writes it over and over again, Ratcliffe. And I'm like, I know that she's doing that on purpose.
Just to mess with you.
Yeah, I think she is.
That's funny.
But Ratcliffe is...
so now you're saying it.
He's all the... I know. He's all the way in the framework. He is letting Ada do all the dirty work. And this... Oh, man.
Well, yeah, apparently he's just like, don't bother me. I've got my whole framework virtual reality world to play with.
He's in there with Agnes, don't you think?
He's in the Matrix. Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We don't even want to think about what's going on with that.
Here's what's going on with that.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you that right.
Little VR action.
Yeah. And Ada's quite happy to let him stay in there, I think. Does he not get it? Has he not seen movies?
Right. Well, this is where you should have Mac and Yo-Yo walk in going, did you not see The Matrix?
Right.
Did you not pay attention to this? What happens?
Take the red pill. Yeah, so...
yeah, and apparently, Ivanov is pissed because it's like, hey, I'm trying to talk to you and all you want to do is play around in VR land.
Right, and he says, Ada is my proxy. You can tell her anything. And Ivanov is like, no, I don't want to tell her everything.
Because she's not real. She's not a human. Well, because he's anti, anyone who isn't human.
Right. And he does say a line later that says, filth, something about filth.
Right.
Oh,
yeah. Basically, like, even filth has their use, or something like to that effect.
Even filth has their uses, he says to her. And
then she flips it back on him at the end of the episode.
Right. She lets it go. And later on, he's buried in rubble after S.H.I.E.L.D. has kind of...
Kicked their base, yeah.
Kicked their butts, yeah. And she says...
Daisy brings down the house once again.
Right. She says to him that, I'm not going to kill you. Even filth has their uses.
Yeah.
But, however, they make it back to S.H.I.E.L.D. and Fitz and Simmons realize that the timetable isn't quite right.
Yeah, there's some time missing here.
And that everyone else has been replaced with LMDs.
It's like, oh my god, everybody's an LMD except for us.
Right.
Doesn't look good for, so it's up to Fitzsimmons to save the day.
That's right. And they will. And Coulson makes a line for May.
Yep.
Coulson's going to wake up May.
Let's hope.
No, let's not hope.
Well, that's true because, Coulson brings up the LMD May.
Right.
So basically there's another one.
Right.
They have to deal with.
There's an uprising.
So, yep.
Ada.
Yeah.
Thus being Ada.
So if Fitzsimmons was smart, they'd be getting Mac and Yo-Yo on the phone. And
hey, that thing about the Terminator stuff?
Yeah.
Happening.
Yep. It is. Well, gets my shotgun axe.
No, you know what they need to do is just seal up the base and pump in some sarin gas.
Or what I would do is set off an EMP, but that's me.
Yeah. We'll see.
That's what I would do.
Happens next week. Because they are electronics still.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. I would set off an EMP, or at least a localized EMP.
Right.
But that's me. But maybe they don't want to fry all their equipment.
That's true.
But
yeah.
But
that is kind of...
You know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay, so save. Oh, wait.
What are our grades?
Yeah. I thought this was an okay episode. I thought it was kind of a little bit of a filler episode.
Mm-hmm.
But I give it 8 out of 10 old school sunglasses because I'm digging Coulson rocking the shades again.
Yeah, me too. And I went just a little higher because I loved old Coulson. Anything that revolves around Coulson, I'm in. Clark Gregg is fantastic.
He's always good.
Yeah. So I gave it 8.5 murder boards.
Very nice.
That murder board down in Ivanov's cave. I was like, dude, really? Seriously?
Ivanov should get together with the stalker chick from Lucifer.
Yes.
And
They'd make a good couple.
And they can go to like Michael's craft store and get some like yarn and
Sure.
you know
A glue stick.
and some glitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stickers.
Yep. Go to like a craft store. Okay. Arrow
513, Spectre of the Gun. We're gonna have some issues here.
And a little side note: Spectre of the Gun was a title of a Star Trek episode.
Mm-hmm.
Spectre of the Gun, where the Enterprise crew, of course, faces off with a version of the gunfight at the OK Corral.
Right.
So a little side note there for you
I
Trekkies.
remember that.
Yep. But I just written by Mark Guggenheim, showrunner, co-showrunner, directed by Kristen Wendell. And what's her A, B, and C, Karen?
Hold on. Sorry.
A Story. Registry.
A Story. Registry status. It's complicated.
Right.
Renee's Wild Ride.
Right.
And Good House Hunting.
Yes.
We'll get the Good House Hunting out of the way right away.
Okay.
Dinah is looking for an apartment.
Yeah.
She can't get one.
Right.
Because she has issues.
Yeah.
With permanence.
Yeah.
And she also doesn't have any kind of she can't put vendetta on an application.
Yeah, pretty much. So
for some reason, that's all swept away at the end because she got an apartment. How did she? What did she put?
What she did is Diggle ends up convincing Dinah to return to a normal life, and she decides, well, I think I'll go ahead and enlist in the SCPD.
So she puts that down as a job?
I guess she's putting down SCPD as the job.
Even though she's only had it for days.
Yes.
And that's how you get.
Well, maybe they figure, the SCPD,
All right. Because that's how you get an apartment. You go and you apply for a job, and then they let you have an apartment.
Written by Mark Guggenheim.
That was the only part I thought, that is way far-fetched.
There are a lot of far-fetched things in this episode.
Just stay at Hive.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
now the flashback. Here's the part I liked about this episode.
This is the part I liked too. The flashbacks. So Arrow did, to their credit, have good flashbacks this week.
Right. It was all about Renee and his family and how he became
Wild Dog.
Wild Dog. And it was touching, I thought, because
and a little like foolish.
Well, yeah.
We'll talk about that.
But also realistic, I thought.
Right. Fair enough. Fair enough.
I could see it happening.
Right.
To a family like that. They lived lower middle class, I would guess.
I would say so. Yeah, they weren't in a great part of town.
They didn't live in the Glades, but
no. They were kind of like they're getting by.
Right.
They had their daughter.
Right.
Zoe.
And he was going to take her to a game,
right,
which was in the Glades, and that's kind of, I mean,
and this is why he wears the hockey shirt.
Right. And that's the deal here, is that all of our ballparks are in like the worst part of town here.
Yeah.
Honestly, the Armory, where they play the Redskins games, are in like the worst part of town. It's the
our AAA team, the Columbus Clippers, they were in a really crappy part of town, but then they moved to a really nice part of town when they built a new ballpark for them.
Very cool.
Huntington Park. So.
Well, the Armory is just oh man, it's you have to like have your keys in between your fingers. Right. I mean, it's a horrible part of town. So he wants to go get his gun, and his wife is all up.
Well, his wife, we should talk about. His wife apparently is a drug addict.
Right.
And Renee confronts her about still using drugs, because apparently he's not down with that, especially with their daughter around.
Right. Well, she declines to go with them, and that's when he says, "Oh, so you're going to use drugs while I'm gone." Right. I mean, that's essentially what the deal is.
So apparently
she's giving him crap about taking the gun, so he doesn't. He gives her crap about taking drugs while they're gone, and
then the dealer shows up.
Right. and he has a gun.
Right.
And then Renee goes for his gun.
Yep. It's like the
doesn't
Wild
end
West.
up
Pew,
making
pew,
it.
pew. Everybody's got their guns.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So basically a shot goes like while we find out that Renee ends up shooting the dealer. The dealer, as he falls down to the floor, clenches his hand on the trigger and shoots a bullet that kills Renee's wife.
right.
So essentially, Renee killed his wife.
Kind of.
Indirectly.
Right. He had every right to shoot that guy, though.
I agree, in front of their daughter.
Right.
So all this went down. So Zoe ends up transferred to foster care. Renee's prohibited from even spending time with her. And, of course, he has some rage issues.
Right. And he kind of understands about Zoe. He seems resigned to the fact that she's at a better place right now.
Right.
That he shouldn't be around her. That's how he's playing it in present day.
Right.
But yeah, that's why he is a wild dog. And Curtis says to him, after they've been arguing over their stance on guns the whole time, because Curtis is making the argument that, people shouldn't have guns because I'm coming at it from the point of view that I'm black. I'm very likely to be shot.
Right.
I'm much more likely to be shot than anyone else.
And that was one of the things I wanted to talk about with this debate, because it is kind of basically the way Guggenheim writes this script is that everybody is essentially in the roles to set up the debate. Curtis is the black guy that feels threatened by all the gun use.
Right.
Renee is the pro-gun advocate.
Right, who has a reason
Right, but so he takes the pro-gun stance.
He wants to protect his house.
And in the middle, you have Felicity, who is everybody's friend on Facebook that doesn't want people to debate difficult issues on Facebook because, hey, it's upsetting to me, so I don't want to deal with it.
Right, and Curtis actually makes the point where when did it become wrong for us to debate things?
Right.
Which I thought was actually a good point.
Well, it is, but I found this to be like really preachy soapboxy.
I get where you're coming from.
And this is just in Guggenheim with that statement. It's his way of saying, hey, we don't have the discourse, the political discourse we used to have. Well, no kidding, we don't have that.
Right.
But it's kind of like, well, welcome to the party, pal. Yes, no kidding. It's kind of like, yeah, no kidding. Duh.
If you take on I
just saw it as a very pandering statement. It's like,
if you take on this explosive, and I'm not really using that as a pun. It's an explosive debate about guns.
Right.
If you take on a subject matter like this, you're going to be open to people on both sides of the fence, either liking it or hating it. And I have to say, I think they did a pretty decent job with it. I know you don't like it; you found it preachy.
Well, my other issue with this, and I totally get where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not trying to invalidate your point.
I know.
Okay, so my take on it was that after all these episodes of like, hey, Felicity is nuking a city,
right,
and all this other ridiculousness,
violence.
Like, okay, this week, we're going to do our big PSA about gun violence.
So that we can talk about shooting and killing.
Exactly. We've got vigilantes, we've got one of the vigilantes who actually routinely shoots people.
Right.
And Oliver has killed people before.
Uh-huh.
And then, we're going to come up with this magical solution at the end with this resolution that somehow addresses all the problems.
But they won't tell us what it is.
But we won't tell what's exactly is in the resolution to solve this Basically, we try to address this really complex problem in the span of an hour.
And again,
on a superhero vigilante show.
And I'm not saying it's perfect, obviously.
I just think the form doesn't work.
Right.
I appreciate the effort, really.
And I do get that a lot. I understand that completely. And I also get that they took the Green Arrow out of it
Right.
by making it Oliver the mayor
Right.
that helped to solve the issue.
Yeah, you can't fix this as Green Arrow. You have to fix this as Mayor Queen.
Right. Right. And I think that's why they did that, because they can't make the guy who's a killer
Right. But he's still the same guy.
involved. Yeah, I get that. But
and you've got a district attorney who's probably the vigilante who kills people too. Right? So it doesn't work.
Okay, I get that.
That's where I'm coming from with this.
I'm just saying, I think the episode was good, though.
Okay, fair enough.
Because I liked the flashbacks very much.
Okay, I did like the flashbacks.
There wasn't a lot of Felicity in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Apart from telling everybody, like, hey, I can't deal with this. Just knock it off, you guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but she wasn't in it a lot.
Yeah. So that's a plus. I'll give you
I
that.
liked that Oliver wasn't, I don't know, he was the mayor, which was cool.
Right.
And he did this deal with the councilwoman.
It's like the first time we've actually got to see him as mayor.
I know, right?
do something as mayor.
It was novel.
Right.
And I like that he was kind of alpha about it. He called her in and he was like, we're going to be here a while. What do you want to eat? And he just like shuts the door.
Yep.
He doesn't care whether she consents to stay or not. And I'm like, oh,
yeah,
that's nice. I like that. So,
he's so forceful.
Yeah. And I don't know. There was something I liked about it. It was better than other episodes of the season by a long shot. And I get that it's preachy. The subject matter was very difficult for this type of show.
Yeah, that's.
But I think it was constructed well. And I think they told a good story. That's all I thought.
Okay.
So.
Well, like I said, I appreciated the attempt.
Right.
But I wasn't a fan of the execution, and I think we're a little too, like, this would have been great in a first season 1 episode
before he had killed everyone.
Before he killed everyone, and like in all this other crap that happened.
I get it.
But I think there's just too much baggage to make this story work in season 5.
Right.
That's where I think this is where I'm coming from with this.
I get it.
I mean, I get that.
It would work better on Flash.
And I appreciated that, okay, Guggenheim's like, okay, we've got a pro-gun guy, we've got an anti-gun guy.
Yeah, he tried to make it balanced.
Right, and that's fair. But again, you're like, okay, well, hey, I've got this great solution, and if only people would, like, if only we could, like, it balances gun ownership with public safety. Well, great. Yeah. How do you do that? Well, we're not going to tell you this.
Right.
You just have to imagine it for yourself that it can be done.
Just guess that we did.
Like, and hey, we've got it all solved in an hour, so what's the big deal? Like,
yeah, I know.
I
get what you're saying. I do.
So
I understand completely where you're coming from.
And I get where you're coming from, so.
Okay.
All right. See, we covered that debate as well.
We did. So I gave it 8.5 gun saves, and you didn't.
No, I gave it 7 preachy soapboxes.
Yeah.
Because some of those, like, just a little too on the nose.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
I can see that.
It wasn't natural. Like, it didn't come out. It felt like a lot of those lines were just crammed in there to make the points, as opposed to just being a natural extension of the scene.
Right. So if this hadn't been Arrow, if this had been on another show, it wasn't hypocritical, would you have liked it more?
I don't know. I think it would just depend on how it was executed on the other shows. I don't have anything against trying to do it.
Right.
So I appreciate that Arrow tried to do this. I just don't think it came off like it should have.
Wasn't quite genuine feeling.
It just seemed very, very forced to me. Especially, like I said, we're dealing with stuff like, okay, last week we talked about how Ragman could not, control a bomb that went off, and just.
I know, but I have to say, I think
context.
Season 5 has been above and beyond better than the last couple seasons. So I'm appreciating that a lot.
Okay. That's
and
fair.
The fact that this flashback was Renee and getting to know another character.
Right. I did like the fact that we got some wild dog backstory. Mm-hmm. So I'll give it that. So let's end on a high note there.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Okay, so Legion, episode 2 of Legion.
Okay, something we can agree on.
Chapter 2, yeah. Chapter 2.
Once again, Legion saves the day.
Oh, man. I'm glad we're saving this for last
It cleanses the palate, doesn't it? It's like that, nice, refreshing cup of lemonade, or glass of lemonade on a hot day.
Or sherbet.
Yes. Ooh, that's good, too.
Yeah.
Orange sherbet, like a push-up.
That's right. Yum.
All right, so written by Noah Hawley, showrunner, but he didn't direct this time. It was directed by Michael Uppendahl.
Okay. Whoever it is.
Yep. Doesn't matter.
I like them.
Yep.
Yeah. So I have A stories, time travel.
Okay.
It's not time travel. That's why I used it as the A story.
Right.
B story is bird is the word. Her last name is Bird with a Y.
Yes.
Okay, and then C story is subsidiary company. Now,
I feel like Peter Griffin, have you heard that the bird is the word?
Noun. Yeah. Okay.
The trash man.
Do you get the subsidiary? You don't get that.
Subsidiary company.
Yeah. Okay. So
no, I'm not getting it.
Subsidiary.
Yeah. Oh, so Sid.
No.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going with
Sorry.
Sid. Okay.
That's good, though.
All right.
Synonym for subsidiary company would be sister division.
Okay. So that would be the Loudermilks?
That would be his sister.
I see. Oh, okay. With Amy.
Division.
Okay, got it. Okay. That was a little reaching.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I couldn't think of anything.
That's
else.
okay. That's fair. No biggie. I maybe it's me. Maybe it's late. I'm just struggling with it.
No, it's not good.
Okay. No, it's all right.
Okay, so
that's on me.
This whole episode revolves around. It's so hard to think of titles for.
I get it. It's okay. It's cool. You do awesome for what you do. So
all right.
Don't put yourself down. Okay.
This whole episode revolved around him going into this mystery box out in the forest.
Right.
With Bird and.
Tanami Wallace.
Tanami. Thank you.
So, yeah, they go to this pro-mutant facility called Summerland.
Right. And there's a big, a mystery box out in the forest, and they hold on to these little things where they're all connected.
Like paddles or handles.
Handles, yeah. And Ptolemy, what's his name again?
Tanami.
Tanami can actually project them into his memory.
Yeah, he's what he refers to himself as a memory artist.
Right, and that's amazing.
That's apparently his power.
Right, and so they are not time traveling, but they are going back into his memory, and they show him different parts of his past.
Of David's past.
Right. In order to decipher some of the things that are going on now. He still thinks he's crazy. David thinks that he's crazy because all of his life he's been told he's crazy.
Right.
And Dr. Bird is telling him, you're not. We're rewriting that history. We're telling you you're not crazy. These voices are real. So let's go back and look at these things that happened to you.
Until they find out he is crazy.
Well... But still.
Because Legion of the Comics is crazy.
Well.
He's schizophrenic.
There's a reason for that, though.
Right.
He's not schizophrenic so much as those things are, he really has personalities that are real.
Right. And I know it's kind of jumping ahead, but I'm kind of looking forward to them figuring out, hey, these are distinct personalities.
Yeah, which they don't know yet.
No. I don't think.
Right.
I don't think even David realizes this yet.
No. Oh no, he has no idea. He just thinks of them as voices right now, right?
Right.
So he hears voices and he thinks he's crazy. Dr. Bird thinks that he has some powers, but I don't think she knows what they are yet. She thinks that he has like a ESP sort of thing where he can read other people's thoughts.
Right.
That maybe he is hearing voices that are other people's. I'm guessing.
Well, they've kind of figured, okay, he has telepathy.
Right.
And that he's showing maybe some signs of telekinesis.
Right. And so that's what she's trying to get him to do. She's holding his hand and getting him to separate her voice out from all the other voices. But really, he's hearing voices of his own. So that's going to come out at some point. Which I find is interesting that he can actually do that.
Yeah.
Right.
And we also have, intriguingly, we find out that something is blocking Tanami from accessing all of David's past.
Right.
And the question is, what is doing that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I have theories.
So we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
So they go back to a couple different points in David's past. They go back to David when he's talking to a therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And there are parts of that David skips over, but they end up going back to that part and they see a flash of him in that kitchen.
Yep.
Where he's throwing stuff around the kitchen. We'll get to that in a minute. They also go back to a point in his past where he and... What's her name with the stove?
Oh, Lenny.
He and Lenny are out trying to score drugs.
Right.
She
basically trying to sell her roommate's stove or something like that.
A girl
stove.
She had an interlude with a girl.
Yeah.
And apparently the girl... She says the girl liked her enough that she gave her stove. I just think that she was passed out.
That's what I'm thinking.
So she stole this girl's stove and she traded it for drugs, and they got high. And he apparently had some sort of a out of body experience there, and so that's one of the time periods they went back to. And he saw flashes of this demon there, the devil with the yellow eyes.
Right.
And I think that's.
And apparently that demon or the devil with yellow eyes is triggered by certain events.
Right. And getting high is one of them.
Yeah, but also that telekinetic episode in the kitchen was another.
Right. So when they go there, that's pretty much it for the drug thing, right? I mean, that he sees the devil with the yellow eyes.
Right.
Then they go back to a time where he's a young boy, and his father is reading him this book.
Really disturbed book. The
angriest boy in the world.
Right. Is that an actual book?
There is a book called The Angriest Boy in the World, but it is not this book.
I wouldn't think so. I thought
that book is a memoir.
Yeah.
It's not this book. This book is crazy.
Yeah.
I think this book is a figment of his imagination. I think it's a construct.
I don't see it. My theory, and this is just my theory.
Mm-hmm.
I think that whole bit with his father,
mm-hmm.
because we never see his father's face, if you notice.
Right.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So
he can't even see it when he looks.
So my theory is that that's a whole false memory, because as we know in the comics, his father is Charles Xavier.
Right.
So there's no way that Xavier would be reading that kind of a book to David.
Absolutely not.
Because for one thing, he wouldn't even maybe know that David existed.
Right. Well, he doesn't know.
So the question is, okay, if this guy was David's father,
right,
who is he?
Right.
And so I'm thinking this is a whole false memory, because there's all this other stuff of David's past being blocked. His memories are deliberately blocked. Now that tells me somebody with telepathic abilities has been tinkering around with David's brain.
Right.
So So this plays into the devil with yellow eyes theory, because we talked about how everybody thinks it's Mojo because he's yellow and Mojo has yellow eyes. But I'm thinking, well, what if it's not Mojo? What if it's actually the Shadow King? And this is somebody I brought up last week, because the Shadow King is the very first formidable telepath that Xavier came across.
Right.
So,
and he would definitely have something against his son.
And against Xavier. So he would probably, and he would have the ability to have that telepathic influence over David's mind.
Right. So, and also to mind F him with his father, quote unquote.
Right. So now, granted, it's only episode 2. There could be, I could be completely wrong, but this is where I'm leaning toward in the Devil with Yellow Eyes theory, is the Shadow King.
This would make perfect sense to me. And also, I wanted to point out that when they go back to the house with all the stuff going around him, it's supposed to be his house with his girlfriend.
Right. Yeah. Philly. Right.
Right. But when they go back to the house with the stuff going around him, and then they end up going up the stairway, it's his boyhood house.
Right.
So it's the same house.
Just different times.
Right. So the house where his dad is reading to him that book is the same house where he lived with his girlfriend? It's not. I mean, it wouldn't be. So that's a false memory for sure in my mind.
Right.
And when they go up to when they go to the memory with the kitchen and all that, and it ends up forcing them up the stairs, and Ptolemy can't go back downstairs. They shut the door and all that.
Right.
And David ends up going across the room and getting all devil looking, and the boy's face comes out of nowhere, and the book drops off the shelf and all that stuff. It's crazy in that room, right? I mean, it's weird, and it's so creepy. This is where the show makes me want to watch the whole thing. I wish it was a Netflix show.
I was just about to say, I totally agree, because I would I can't. It's killing me to have to wait till Wednesday.
Right.
Which is the sign of a really great series.
I know, right?
That you can't wait to find out what happens next.
This is one that I would not wait for a week to watch if it was on Netflix.
Yeah.
If this was on Netflix, I would binge it.
They're really creating a really interesting mystery going on.
Yeah, big time.
And we obviously don't know all the puzzle pieces yet, which is fine because, hey, I'm enjoying the ride.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm just okay, I want to know if my theory's right about this or.
Well, it's definitely false because it can't be his dad reading.
You mean the memory? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's a totally false memory.
It can't be. Now, what about the memory of him going and looking at the stars with his father?
See, well, again.
Do you think that's real?
Again, I don't think so because we don't even know that he knows
someone else.
That's good. Well, that's a good question about whether maybe he was raised by the Shadow King. Maybe the Shadow King, it could be a real memory that then reading. Maybe he was deliberately trying to screw David up. Maybe he kidnapped. Maybe the Shadow King kidnapped David as a kid, raised him to try to basically control him because he knew he would have power.
Well, if you remember when he tells that story to the therapist, he says, "My father used to wake me up in the middle of the night and take me out under the stars."
Right.
So it does kind of sound like, someone absconded with him in the middle of the night.
And that's what I'm thinking. So, I'm thinking that the whole reason of him reading maybe The Angriest Boy in the World was to kind of turn him to the dark side a little bit.
Right. Or he is simply using that as a cover because, okay, here's my thought, and this is me maybe overanalyzing.
Okay.
But I think that maybe he was taken by whoever this is, and this is his way of coping with it by saying he was read this book when really he was the angriest boy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because he was taken, so he's projecting that onto the book in order to say,
so basically
I was the angriest man, the angriest boy. he read me this book.
Right.
The guy who took me, that was my dad. I wasn't taken. That was my dad. So, you know what I mean? I mean, it would make sense.
I agree.
He wouldn't have wanted to be, he would want to forget he was kidnapped. So he would want this guy to be his dad. You know what I'm saying?
I totally get where you're coming from.
Okay. It's effed up big time.
And that's a sign of a great show, is that
I know, right?
This could go in any direction right now.
Right. So, okay, and we get to meet the technician, the MRI technician, Bill Irwin.
Yeah, Carrie Loudermilk. And that's
Carrie.
Cary.
Right.
Not Kerry, Loudermilk.
Right.
And
he talks to himself.
Right.
Kind of.
Well, he might be talking to Carrie with a K.
Right.
But as far as David, who is in an MRI machine getting scanned,
right,
thinks like, well, is Carrie with a C talking to himself?
Right. And
talking to voices in his head.
Right. He's saying weird stuff like apple.
Right.
Stapler.
Well, I think it was just like, okay, I'm going by the store. Do you want me to pick up some stuff?
Yeah. I mean, he's listing out things.
Yeah.
And David is just like, what are you?
Yeah.
What? And as he's doing this MRI, we see flashes of this MRI and other stuff going on at the same time.
Yeah.
His brain just completely lights up.
Yeah. Well, he's asked to think of a happy memory. And
right.
We go to that idyllic country childhood with his sister Amy.
And the dog running through the field.
And he keeps hearing this voice in his head that belongs to Amy.
Right. But it's present-day Amy.
Right, but it's present-day Amy because we find out that present-day Amy is at the Clockwork Psychiatric Institution.
Taken by
looking for David, and then only to be told, oh, guess what? David's not here. And,
he's never been here.
And there's no record. Who's David?
Right.
And you're like, are you kidding? Amy's just like, are you kidding me with this?
I've visited him here before, yeah.
And then, of course, that creepy eye guy shows up.
Right.
And kidnaps her.
Right.
And this is what triggers David having a fit inside the MRI machine because he senses Amy's panic.
Right.
And then, of course, we see the devil with yellow eyes again. And that apparently triggers David's powers, which causes this big telekinetic fit where he flings the MRI machine out through the wall into the forest outside.
Which is awesome.
Which was awesome.
But the reason that could happen is because he starts hearing stuff, thinking about things that are nice, and Carrie looks on the screen and it's like a rainbow in his head.
Carrie with a C.
Right.
We're gonna have to say this to distinguish him.
I know, at some point, yeah.
Yeah.
But right now, it's only Carrie with a C.
Okay, fair enough.
He looks on the screen, and it's just a rainbow, and he says, I gotta go get someone, and he runs out. And he's like, did you leave? Seriously? Did you just leave me in here?
Yeah.
If someone had left me in an MRI machine, I would go bat-ass crazy because I hate MRIs.
Well, a lot of people hate MRI because they have claustrophobic fits inside. And then
I've had a seizure inside.
I totally get it because I've been in an MRI machine, so I totally get it.
I feel like I'm in a coffin.
Yep. They're very claustrophobic. I don't know why they can't make those things bigger.
Because they have to be right in on your face.
Well, I understand that, but I mean, you would think there would be a way to do that without.
I have open ones now, but they're still very. Yeah. They're right up here like this.
Right.
I mean, yeah. So he's seeing me.
So yeah.
Charles is seeing me.
Exactly.
Okay, so he's in there alone, and as he's in there, he's still hearing his sister. The lights are going weird. It looks like all the power has been shut off, but the magnetic resonating thing is still going.
Right.
In the MRI. But the MRI itself is turned off. It's just the beam is still going back and forth on him.
Right.
And he starts to see these flashes of things, and he gets like these rainbows, psychedelic things, and he's looking down at his feet.
She's a rainbow.
Like he wants to claw his way out, and that's when he sees the devil with the yellow eyes and all this, and he goes, he does this thing, and then He's sitting there on the.
I wish you
on
could
the
just
bench.
see what I just saw, listeners, because that was
What, my face?
when you were going, yeah. That was great.
Thank you.
Very animated.
When he does that, he's in his like Nehru jacket pajamas on the little bench thing, and there's nothing else in the room. And then you see Dr. Bird, and she's hearing a commotion, and everybody's rushing to the windows.
Yeah, everybody's like outside. That's outside on the ground around the MRI machine. Like, hey, this doesn't go here.
It's my favorite thing ever, seeing that MRI machine out there. I'm
in the
like,
forest. Yep.
oh, if only I could do that to an MRI.
This is your dream fantasy.
It is.
Like every time I go in an MRI machine, I want to just blast that thing sky.
Do you know how often I have to have MRIs?
I believe it. I believe it. You have a lot.
Yes, a lot.
How often?
I've had 5 in my life already, which is 5 too many.
I agree.
But I have to have them, I think, once every 2 years for the rest of my life.
Great.
So, right.
Yeah.
So this is like a fantasy of mine.
I believe it. I believe
to
it.
be able to just displace one as I'm inside of it.
So if you ever want to help Karen, if you got an old MRI machine and a sledgehammer, I'm sure she'd be up for it.
Oh, I would. I would so be up for it.
So we're left with David
wanting... Oh, what a dream come true. I'm sorry. I'm still thinking about it.
That's okay.
Just give me a minute.
I'm just... Okay. So I'm just trying to wrap this up because it's like 6:35. Yeah. Okay. So where David wants to go and rescue Amy.
Mm-hmm.
But Sid's convincing him, like, hey, wait, because you don't really have control of your powers yet. You don't even know what all your powers are yet.
Right.
And she's like, oh, by the way, don't worry about Amy. She's just bait.
Right. They want to get you there.
They won't kill her because they're trying to get you there.
And I like how she tries to stop him. She's like, is it because I won't hold your hand? I'll hold your hand. I really will. And he's like, no, that's not it. I got to help her. It doesn't matter that she's bait. I got to help her.
Yep.
And
then we cut to the eye, and the eye apparently has this really creepy tank full of leeches.
Yeah, that's
gross. What's up with that?
Although leeches aren't that big a deal. I don't know why.
It's a disturbing image.
It is.
It's like...
And then he's saying, well, let's get started, and that's it. And it fades to black.
Rubbing his hands together, yeah.
He's gross.
Yeah. And then we get the awesome Thomas Dolby Hyperactive song. Hyperactive when I'm small, hyperactive when I'm cold. Oh, yeah.
You know how many times I rolled it back to listen to that song?
Well, I already had that one on my MP3 player, so I was happy. I was just like, ooh, they chose another song I already have. This is great.
I've watched This Legion 3 times already. 3 times. And my husband hasn't watched all of it yet, so I'm going to watch it with him again.
That's cool.
I love this show. Honestly, I love this show.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you give it?
I enjoyed this one. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as the pilot, so I just knocked it down a little notch. 8.5 relocated MRI machines.
We are on the exact same page. I gave it 8.5 relocated stoves.
Well played.
I saw yours and I went, okay.
Yeah, you went with it. You're like, oh, yeah, okay. Did I steal your MRI machines?
No, you didn't.
Okay.
I hadn't come up with one yet.
All right.
So.
Okay, good.
Stoves is good.
Stoves is good. All right. So.
And we have Justina feedback.
Yeah, let's play that. Go right in.
Hi, Karen and Charles.
Hi, Justina.
I was short a couple superhero shows this week, but I did enjoy what was on. I'm glad to get some Lena backstory in this episode of Supergirl. Wynn was hilarious as usual, and Snapper had some snappy comebacks as well. Glad Jimmy and Kara have come to an understanding, so hopefully their friendship can get back on track. And Manel kept talking about Supergirl on his date with Miss Tessmacher, so there might be hope for the Caramel ship yet. There were some really great action scenes, which altogether rounded out to be a great episode. Is Lex dead in this continuity or just in jail? I was a little bit confused on that point. I hope that Supergirl is able to remain friends with Lena, but they kept showing that chessboard and it made me worried. Worried that Supergirl/Kara might become a pawn in the Luthor's game. I also have to deduct some points because that crazy dude at the end that looks like a Patronus from Harry Potter totally ruined the moment. Monel and Kara were having a moment. Jeez.
That's what supervillains do.
Supergirl gets 8 out of 10. Pool is just geometry. tree with sticks. And Arrow. I was worried right off the bat when Arrow came on with an additional viewer discretion advised warning in front of it.
Yeah.
Any of my CW shows give me that additional warning about violent content. But as soon as the episode began, I understood why it was there. I feel like there might have been a comparison here between the crazy guy that shot up the mayor's office and Oliver Queen. Because lots of hard things have happened to Oliver, but instead of going crazy, he's decided to help the city during the day as a mayor and at night as a Green Arrow. But due to the amount of loss he has suffered, it could have totally gone another way, and his life could have ended up very much like the shooter's. I liked getting backstory information on Wild Dog. I liked the point that Curtis was making about how debate is healthy, and it's okay to do it sometimes. I like that we flashed back also to the night of Damien Dark's death, which is another day that Oliver Queen gave a very rousing speech to inspire the people of Star City. And I believe the message of this episode was, the mayor alone can't save Star City. The Green Arrow alone cannot save Star City. The people of Star City also need to want to save themselves. I'm glad over these seasons that they have allowed Oliver Queen to rise above all the crazy things that have happened in his past and not give in to the specter of the gun. I can't give this episode a cute rating because it was far too serious for that, but I really liked it. So what am I looking forward to next week? Let's see. Gorilla City.
Gorilla City.
Gorilla City. Explaining Gorilla City to Julian. One Nation Under Grodd. Did I mention Gorilla City? Have a super week.
Me too.
Me too. Gorilla City.
I can't wait. And the poster they made for it looks amazing.
It does. It does.
There he is. Flash.
Flash.
No, not Grodd.
Yeah. There's a Grodd Funko figure out there, but I have not been able to find it yet.
Mm-mm. Me either.
Yeah.
Oh, did you see that I got, did I have these last week?
Maybe.
Hook and Cassima?
Yes, you showed those to me.
Okay.
Yep. I was
You
very jealous of your Cassima because she's she's my second favorite clone on Orphan Black after Allison.
She's the most like me, I think.
Fair enough. I'd agree with that.
She's nerdy.
Yep.
Okay, so if you want to get in touch with us,
which is why we love you.
Oh, thank you. You can email us at fandomzonecast@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/fandomzonepodcast, or just search for Fandom Zone Podcast on Facebook. And we're on Twitter at Fandom Zonecast. And I am on Twitter at Aleveria, ALEVERIA. And there's a link in my bio to my blog, where you can find all my other links and stuff about books and stuff about gaming and stuff about other stuff.
Stuff about stuff.
Yeah, it's Allie's stuff.
Allie's stuff. Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah, exactly.
It works out really well.
Where can they find you?
Of course, I'm at Charles Skaggs on the Twitter machine, at Charles Skaggs on the Instagram, Google Plus for all you crazy kids on the Google Plus, and Facebook, of course. My blog of geeky things, damn good coffee, and hot.
Hot.
I don't get the sound effect this week?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Damn good coffee. And hot.
There you go.
I just love that. I miss it when it's gone. It's
I'm
not there.
sorry. It's there now.
Okay, I appreciate that. So, yeah, where I talk about all these comic book shows that we're talking about and more. And there's lots of shows coming up, in the following weeks. We're going to have some big weeks coming up. Mm-hmm. So, and there's lots of good comic book stuff on the way as well, in movies and TV shows and whatnot. So
we have 100 coming up soon. Fandom Zone 100.
Yes.
Which we will be doing something for. We are talking about doing things. So.
Yeah. We're only 7 away from that, so stay tuned. Okay. And of course, there's my other podcast, Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast, which we're going to be recording in about 15 minutes with special guest Karen.
That's right.
For episode 75. So
after I go do a couple things.
The Androids of Tara. And then we're also my Twin Peaks podcast, Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast, that I do with Zan Sprouse. And please check me out there. Would definitely appreciate it. And please give me a review on iTunes. So we need at least 5 to get to show up a rating on iTunes. So that would be great.
I'll have to do that.
I would definitely appreciate it.
And by the way, you can find all his links also
on Ellie Stuff
on my blog page.
Because you're awesome.
That's right. You can find his blog link there and the link to his podcast.
I appreciate that so much. You would not believe.
Of course. No problem.
So
Happy to do
thank
that.
you for that.
Yep.
All right. So I think that about does it.
That's it.
That's it.
So out we go. And then we'll be back in a half an hour.
Less than that, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Talk to you in a bit.
Bye. Everyone. We'll skip a little bit. I'll skip.
Deal with the skipping.
I don't know.
How irritating is that?